Hello and welcome back. After a prolonged absence, we're back with a vengeance because it is World Cup countdown time. And what better way to count down than to look at the now completed World Cup groups? We had the draw in December, and now finally the playoffs have been played. We know every group. We were thinking about looking at the groups earlier, but I thought it would be better to wait until we knew every team that was in. When I say we, I'm joined again by Mr. Ben Dimmock, who's been on a few videos with me so far. Welcome back.
Thanks very much for having me. It's exciting that the World Cup's so near, Tom.
Yes, it is. And I'm really excited to get through these groups because there's 12 of them
Yeah.
and obviously more fixtures than ever at the World Cup. And I haven't announced this officially on the channel, but I will be traveling to Toronto. I have two tickets so far. I'm hoping to get a couple more, but the prices are just getting more and more expensive. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, they're getting ridiculous.
it's going to be tricky, but I'm determined to get at least
Mhm.
one more ticket, and we'll get to the games that I have tickets for. So it's very exciting. Group A. Group A is a very, very interesting group, and I actually think I don't know about you, Ben, if you've had a chance to look at these before the video. Um, I think for a 48 team World Cup, these are some good groups. There's a couple that are weaker,
They are, yeah.
but most
Yeah.
of them seem really competitive to me.
Mhm.
And I think this is the epitome of that because we have the hosts, one of the three co-hosts, Mexico.
Yes.
We have South Africa, we have South Korea, and a surprise entry in the Czech Republic, who are in the same path
Mhm.
as Denmark and the Republic of Ireland, who I think were favoured by more people to advance. And the Czechs beat them both. So, yeah, big for them. First World Cup since 2006 when they had Pavel Nedved and Petr Cech and Thomas Rosicky. What do you make of this group? It's definitely not a Titanic group, but it's very competitive.
No, it is. I think it's a typical solid World Cup group where you don't know exactly what's going to happen because there will be some really great matchups. I often prefer watching the groups where there's not any of the real titans in there just because you just don't know what's going to happen. And I think this will be a really, really exciting group to watch. I think Mexico will be a tough opponent for the rest of them, mostly because the home field advantage. And I just think I'm so excited about the Mexican crowds. I think they're going to be absolutely fantastic
Those
there.
those two games at the Azteca against South Africa and the Czech Republic, they are going to
Yeah,
be insane.
immense. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, absolutely immense.
and I think we should probably talk about Mexico. I think we put them in our top 10 World Cup list, didn't we? Our top 10 favorites. We had them at number 9 or number 10, or at least they were
I
they
think
were
so.
on the
Yeah,
cusp of it.
they're definitely in the conversation.
And I think their form has been inconsistent since then. They really struggle when Raul Jimenez is not scoring.
Hmm.
They struggle to find goals, but they're very defensively sound. They just drew 0-0 with Portugal in a friendly. And I think that will be their story. It'll be 1-0s, 0-0s, 1-1s. It'll be
Yeah.
competitive. They won't be fun to watch, but that crowd, I
No,
think, could be
we'll
a
make
big
up for it.
factor. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I
I think their crowd is going to be the most significant of all three of the home nations. I think
oh, by far.
their fans are going to want it far more than it. I mean, we've seeing at the moment with the US media that they're really trying to force interest amongst the US public, but the passion for the sport just won't be there because it historically it never has been. I mean, I can remember growing up there in New York. I don't know if I've mentioned that before on the channel, and no other no other boys my age cared about football. It was just seen as a young girls team, young girls sport. Whereas this I think is really feels like Mexico's World Cup in so many ways.
Which is funny because they're only hosting about
Yeah,
five
yeah,
games in Mexico City and four in
yeah,
Zapopan, I think. Yeah.
yeah.
And a couple
But
in Guadeloupe.
their fans are the ones who are going to care more than any of the others. You just know that this is a really special moment for the country.
And I think as far as opening matches go, to have that repeat of 2010, where the host has
Yeah,
flipped and it's Mexico, South
Hmm.
Africa in Mexico City. It is brilliant. For the vibes
Yeah.
alone, it is fantastic.
I think
And
that's going to be the tale of Mexico's tournament, the vibes.
I know, and this is the thing about this group. I could easily see Mexico finishing bottom. I think they'll finish top. But I
I
could
think so too.
if someone told me, I see a time machine and Mexico finished bottom of this group, I wouldn't be shocked. I would be, oh, okay, that's surprising. They were at home. But
Definitely surprised, but
South
yeah,
Africa,
definitely not shocked.
of course, if any of you watched the Club World Cup, Mamelodi Sundowns were um, very, very, very competitive and very exciting to watch, very attacking. Um, and that a lot of their players play for the South African national team. In fact, I think the starting 11 has 6 or 7 of their players. Ronwen Williams in goal is a kind of a national hero. You got Lyle Foster, who plays for Burnley. It's a fun team. I think in this group they are the weakest team, but the vibes are going to be fantastic. Again, it's the group of vibes because then you got
Yeah,
Son
yeah,
Heung-min, possibly
yeah.
his last World Cup, probably.
I
I
would
think.
suspect so, yes.
And then you have the
I would
Czechs,
certainly assume
who
so.
love a bit
Yeah.
of chaos at the Euros more so than the World Cup, with Patrick Schick, of course, scoring that
Mm.
halfway line goal on the way to winning the
Yeah,
Golden
yeah,
Boot at Euro
he was,
2020.
yes, he? Yes,
Um, so it's a hard one to call. I think Mexico win the group.
I
I
think
think
so too. And I think South Korea second, closely behind.
yes, I find it really hard to split South Korea and the Czech Republic, which means that this game here, the second game of the tournament, is going to be so important. I'd probably just give the edge to South Korea, the Czechs in third, and South Africa in fourth, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely.
And I guess for each group, we'll maybe point towards the game we're most excited for. And for this one, it's obvious, I think. Mexico, South Africa in Mexico
Yeah,
City.
yeah, it
That
has
is
to
going to
be.
be unbelievable. Um, so we move on to Group B,
Yeah,
which is the group of our second co host, Canada. And I have to say, of the 3 co hosts, I think Canada and Mexico have had kinder draws than the United States. People aren't really talking
much
about it,
kinder.
but I think the United States group is very tricky, and we'll get to that. As a Welshman, seeing Bosnia and Herzegovina in this spot
I know.
is
Yeah.
horrific because they are rubbish. I'm telling you, they are rubbish. They're not good. They're a good defensive team. They can be dangerous at set pieces. They will just foul any team that's better than them incessantly.
Yeah.
In fairness, in the home game against Italy, they dominated Italy. Of course, Italy went down to 10 men, um, with Bastoni with a really silly red card, a really really silly red card. Um, and of course, Italy don't make it.
Yeah.
Um, and it's Edin Dzeko at age what is it 40, and he's playing for Schalke in the German second division. You got Demirovic up front as well. He's been doing really well at Stuttgart. A lot of young players. I just don't think they're very good. But this group I think is actually one of the weakest at the tournament. Um, Canada are the weakest of the
It
three
is.
co-hosts for me, especially with Alfonso
Yeah,
Davis
they
struggling with
are.
injury.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
it's for the smallest population by far, so
that's true as
kind of to be
well.
expected. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Jonathan David, who showed so much promise, has not really worked out for him at Juventus,
Yeah. He's always seemed like one of those players that could never really live up to the hype.
Mm. Which is a shame because there was a
It
lot of
is. It
hype.
is. There was a lot of
Um,
hype.
yeah, and then you
Perhaps
got
too much. I always fear with players like that where we really, really expect the world of them without having actually seen it yet from them.
yeah, and I think if Alfonso Davis is fully fit, if the Canadian people get behind the team, because I think we have to acknowledge, even more so than America, I don't think there's much interest in football in
The
Canada. I
interest
think
isn't there. Yeah.
even less than America. Um,
Yeah.
Jesse Marsh, I think,
Well,
is
there's
a
fewer people to get behind it.
yeah, that's true, but they're
Yeah,
big hockey and baseball heads
it's
over
all
there.
about winter sports as
Yeah,
well. I mean, we see them. absolutely fantastic in the Winter Olympics, of course, because that's their domain.
Mm, mm. I think Jesse Marsh is a good coach. I think he got a lot of flack for his time at Leeds. I didn't think he was that bad, and he's done a really good job at Canada. Um, I think they've got very lucky with this group. I'll be honest, because I don't think
They
Bosnia are
have.
particularly good.
Yeah.
Qatar are one of the worst teams at the tournament.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, they looked really weak in the last World Cup, where you really felt like they were purely there for being the host nations. It never felt like they had any chance of qualifying. I remember saying that after watching their opening match 3.5 years ago. So it's almost surprising to see them here until you remember that it's almost harder to not qualify for a World Cup
mm,
these days with the constant expansion of the tournament.
yeah, there's 9 spots for Asian teams this time round. So,
Yeah, yeah,
and they're
exactly.
definitely one of the 9 best teams in Asia. There's no doubt about that. But
Yeah,
are they one of the 5 best teams in
no,
Asia? No chance. And
no,
of
no.
course, we forget that in the build up to the World Cup, there was a bit of hype around them. I don't want to say hype, but people thought they could make the knockout stage because they'd won the
Mm.
last 2 Asian Cups, I think. Um, but yeah, I think Akram Afif is a really good player, but I'm not convinced that that one player they have who scores all their goals is going to be enough, even in a weaker group. And then Switzerland. What do you
Yeah.
think of Switzerland?
I think Switzerland will be very, very pleased to have been placed in this group.
Yes.
I think they're a better team than we often give them credit for. I think they're the type of team that is better than the sum of their parts. And I was really impressed with them actually in the last Euros. I thought they were unlucky in a way with the result against England. I thought they performed really well against England the last Euros. And no one ever almost expects to go out on penalties to England. Um,
I think of all England's games, apart from the final, Switzerland were the one team that seriously outplayed them.
yeah,
England never really got out of second gear, but they were better than the Netherlands and they were better than Slovakia. I think Switzerland will
yeah.
have felt very hard done by to have lost that game.
They did, but it came down to the fact that they didn't have the sheer talent almost to make it that far. I think that's unfortunately the one hurdle they can't get over, that they are well run. They've had fairly decent tournament success in recent years. I mean, beating France in Euro 2020, 21, whatever you want to call it, I think was a fantastic result. But and it's a classic team where their players just keep getting older without loads of new talent to start again.
I think they've got for Switzerland. They always have a full lineup of 7, 8 out of 10 players.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
with the exception of maybe, Gregor Kobel in goal, who I think is one of the
Mhm.
better goalkeepers in Europe, and Xhaka, you
He
know,
is. He is.
um, Granit Xhaka is an absolute
Yeah,
beast
he
still.
is. He is.
But players
Yeah,
like
and
Manuel
so
Akanji and
important for that
Fabian
team.
Schär, they're kind of past their prime now, I think.
I think they're all starting to age out, unfortunately.
Um, so it'll be interesting to see where they go from here because I think it's a gift of a group really for
It
them.
is for them. So you'd
Um,
absolutely, I think, expect them to top the group. I think anything less
yeah,
than that would be poor from them.
it would be
But they will
bizarre, I
be
think,
really
if they
relieved.
didn't
It would
top
be
the group.
bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless Canada absolutely catch fire, which could happen because they play Bosnia and
Uh,
then Qatar, which I don't want to disrespect those nations, especially the Bosnians. They're very passionate people, and I'm not being bitter because they just knocked us out. But I think they beat Bosnia 1-2-0. I think they could beat Qatar 4 or 5-1. And then who knows? They play Switzerland. Might be a 50-50 by then.
Yeah, yeah,
But I agree with you. I would go Switzerland 1, Canada 2,
yeah.
Bosnia
Absolutely.
3, Qatar 4.
Definitely, definitely Qatar fourth. Yeah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah.
what game are you most excited for in this group?
Switzerland, Canada. I think it's got to be. I
In
think it's because
Vancouver?
it's going to be the first.
Yeah.
I just think it's the first real test for Canada. You always like to see the home nations really giving it a proper go, and I think that, as you say, they'll be ready for it by the time it comes around.